Okay, guys, so let's finish up the chapter. So we got the classification of skeletal muscles. Okay, this is on page 76, by the way. So this is remember, skeletal muscle can be classified according to fascicle arrangement. And we defined this a little bit differently at the beginning of the chapter. It comes from the arrangements of the muscle cells. But just kind of for right here, what's a fascicle? And then you guys put this. Well, that's what the fascicles are. I should have made that plural. The fascicles are like the grain of the muscle, how the lines that run through a skeletal muscle when you look at it. So they can be classified as parallel, and you guys know what parallel means. It just means the fascicles run parallel to each other. Like maybe one here. So for an example, oops, let's do this guy. So here we got it's right this guy that the question mark's on. He's parallel. This guy's parallel. This guy's parallel. This guy's parallel. He's kind of not. Those two, he maybe sort of is, but this guy definitely is. Remember his name? If you don't, make sure you do by next Tuesday, because there's a good chance he'll be on Muscle Quiz, and him, and him, and him, and him, and him, and him, and him. But this guy right here is the sartorius. So cut and paste sartorius. All right, pinnate means hey, and I didn't notice this is mid-cell, so it's pinnate. Take that T out. It's not pentate, it's pinnate, which says fascicles radiate from a central tendon. Pinnate means feather-like. So here, it's probably kind of hard to see it. This is a model of a foot. You can see the heel down there. So what you're looking at right here is the muscle that goes right on top of the fibula. Remember the fibularis longus, or the peroneus longus. But if you look, here's a central tendon, and it kind of like a feather's got the quill, and like the little barbs radiate out from it. So just like the quill, there's the central tendon, and then you can see all the fascicles kind of radiate out from that. So peroneus longus or fibularis longus would be a good example, which is the same muscle, but here, what did I type? I typed peroneus longus. So peroneus longus. All right, here, let me rearrange a little. Okay, convergent. Convergent means they come together. So probably a good example for that would be... Oop, I lost my picture. This guy. So here, I bet it's a model kind of like the one we had before, but here is the gluteus maximus. And then you can see the hamstrings on the back, but gluteus maximus starts really broad, and then it comes together and narrows down into a pretty small area there for the tendon. All right, so convergent gluteus maximus would be a good one there. Oh, here we go. Cut. Paste. Now circular. So we just did Muscle Quiz 2, or Muscle Quiz 1. Sorry. So remember, there's the orbicularis oris that goes around the mouth, and for you guys that took the quiz already, remember I put orbicularis, and like everyone got it right, pretty much. Orbicularis oculi. Remember the circular muscle that goes around the eye. So you guys both know those already. Pick one of those, put them there for an example. So orbicularis oris or orbicularis oculi. Okay, so there's some good basic muscle shape examples. All right, actions of skeletal muscles. Says we talked about this in lab, but it says whatever the action of a muscle is, muscles can only contract. So muscles only work by shortening. Says they pull on their insertion, they never ever push. And we'll come back to that kind of big time when we do Muscle Quiz 3. But these terms relate to the action of a muscle. Like we got the prime mover. The prime means main, or number one. So it's the main muscle for action for a given action. So like for flexion of the elbow joint, which remember is bending your elbow. Most books consider the biceps brachii. You can maybe kind of argue it's what I'm going to put as the synergist here, but go with that. The biceps brachii. You guys know him. Everyone knows the biceps brachii. Everyone's heard of the biceps before. Just remember, there's another biceps that's not in your arm; it's in your leg, or the biceps femoris, the hamstring. So anyway, the main one is the prime mover, like for the biceps brachii. for flexion of the elbow joint. A synergist is a helper. So a muscle that helps there's a couple, but one of them that we talked about is the brachialis. I had that picture. Nope. Here. So this is showing. Remember the biceps, two heads. So here it's got a color coded, and you can see the two different heads of the bicep. So it's not two different muscles, but and then deep to that, remember you've got a muscle called the brachialis. Okay, so prime mover is the main muscle. Synergist is a helper. A fixator is also a helper, but it doesn't help by producing movement. It helps by preventing the movement of the origin. So remember, muscles have an origin and an insertion. The insertion's the movable attachment point. The origin's the immovable or less movable attachment point. So like your biceps is attached to the radius, the radial tuberosity. It's also attached to your scapula. So when it contracts, like if you bend your elbow, like you're doing a curl or something, lifting a weight, then your shoulder blade doesn't move. It's the radius that moves. But the reason why is there's a whole bunch of other muscles that grab onto that shoulder blade, the scapula, and hold on for dear life. One of them is this guy, and he was on Muscle Quiz 1 you guys just took, and pretty much everyone got him right too. So good job on that. Remember, serratus anterior, jagged in the front. It's like when whatever you're doing, any type of like flexion arm movement type thing, it holds onto that scapula and makes sure it stays stable, so it's a good base for the movement. Okay, so remember, muscles can never do both actions at a joint. Like they never flex and extend because they can only contract. They forcibly contract. They can passively elongate, but they can't forcibly elongate. So if one muscle is going to be a flexor, you got to have another muscle on the opposite side that's going to be the extensor. And whatever muscle does the opposite movement is called the antagonist. So for flexion of the elbow joint, the opposite movement then would be extension of the elbow joint, straightening the elbow joint. Here, I'll just put that over here. And then remember, and then remember the triceps brachii is the main muscle for that. And here, guys, then after that, it's got the name of skeletal muscles. Remember, we did this stuff the other day already, and it's not going to be on the test. So, names of skeletal muscle, those last 2 pages of notes, remember that's totally optional, will not be on your lecture test. We just went over that to review for the muscle test. All right, let's check out the study guide. 4. So we got a pretty short chapter this time, well, I didn't say that right. There's not a lot of notes compared to the other tests we've done. We usually do like 2 or 3 chapters. This one we just got 1. So like almost everything's on there though. But like here, it's kind of messed up. Oh hey, so remember on test 2 we had that question: what are the 3 types of muscle tissue, and which has striations and which has voluntary control? Remember, like everyone got that right. So get it all right again on Friday. So it's the exact same question, cut and paste. So what are the 3 types of muscle tissue? Know which has voluntary control and which don't. Know which has striations and which don't. It's easy. All right. Here's one that's less easy. This is muscle connective tissue wrappings. So here we got endomysium, paramysium, epimysium. This is like on the 2nd or 3rd page of this muscle chapter notes. These guys will define right there. So these guys I'll put like 2 or maybe all 3 of the terms, and you'll have to tell me what they wrap. Here we got 4. So yeah, 2 to 3 of those 4 will show up. So like one of them wraps groups of muscles, and one of them wraps fascicles, and one of them wraps muscle fibers, and one of them wraps the whole darn muscle, and know which one of those do what. Be familiar with direct and indirect attachment. Watch here. So remember, one uses a tendon, one don't. Know which one uses a tendon and which one don't. That's just probably pretty obvious. For the one that don't use a tendon, know kind of how it still attaches to the bone. It's got to do with wrappers. Remember, what's the skeletal muscle fiber? Remember, that's a muscle cell. Here, this is on there too, as they defined. What's the function of myoglobin? Definitely know what here, guys, on A bands and I bands, know which one of those is mainly got the thick filaments and which one's got the thin filaments. Know which one of those is the light bands and know which one of those is the dark bands. Here, know what they're primarily composed of. Know which one's the thick and which one's the thin. Remember that picture we drew of the sarcomere, the thin filaments, the thick filaments, and the Z disc and all that stuff? Oh, here. It says, I may have you label a picture. That's possible. You'll definitely get questions about the parts if you don't label a picture, so check that out anyway. What's a sarcomere? Oh yeah, here. What proteins are the thick and the thin filaments primarily composed of? Remember, one of them's made of a protein. It'll be like that, like kind of like fill in the blank. So what's the main protein on the thick filament? Blank. And what's the main protein on the thin filament? Blank. And one of them's myosin and one of them's actin, and know which one's which. And know those terms. The function of troponin and tropomyosin, those guys show up as multiple choice. They wouldn't be essay. I don't think. Yeah, they're multiple choice. This here, the question on the test isn't going to be what is this. Here, it's this part, the function. So the question on the test is going to be what is the function of the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Neuromuscular junction, I think that's on there is defined. Oh, here, this is on there. What neurotransmitter activates skeletal muscle fibers? And so here's what it says verbatim on the test. It says, give me the full name for the full credit. So like, remember there's a 3-letter abbreviation, ACH. And if you tell me that, I'll give you some partial credit. But if you want all the points, I'll give you half if you tell me those 3 letters. If you tell me, if you want full credit though, all the points tell me what ACH stands for, his full name. Motor end plate and synaptic cleft, be able to define those things. There's a define a motor unit. It's missed a lot. And it's, I'm not really sure why. But, so define motor unit. We kind of already did, maybe the A bands and the I bands, we already did that, which is light, which is dark, and, you know, all that stuff. So there's the essay stuff. Just don't forget, guys, anything that's in your, just like, you know, the first 3 tests, you guys know kind of the drill by now. Anything that's in your notes, fair game for true, false, multiple choice matching. Let's try to think of anything that's particularly painful, since we got a little time left here. Oh, you know, I don't know, just the muscle metabolism stuff. Some of that goes smooth muscle stuff. There's on there too, but it's not really hard. Muscle metabolism throws people off. Thick filaments, or not? Sorry, the fast twitch and slow twitch fiber stuff. Oh yeah, what aerobic respiration and glycolysis. Yeah, function of creatine phosphate. Yeah, again, all that stuff's multiple choice, but it's missed a lot. So just don't blow it off. Oops, sorry. Oop, too far. I'm out of the wrong chapter. Okay, that stuff's easy. Okay, that's all I can really think to tell you. So I'll see you Friday.